Greetings, diners, and welcome to another edition of the Collapse Cafe here on the Doomstead Diner. Yes, I've been using that intro forever. You can go back and look at some of my old videos going back to about 2013 or so. And I invite you to do that. Go check out some of the old interviews and see what still holds up a good decade after I began chronicling the progress of the collapse of industrial civilization. It's been a long road, and well, it's not over yet, and probably won't be for a while. And neither is my life, although it has certainly taken a significant downward turn over that 10 years. But I'm still above ground, so that counts for something, right? All right, well, today's topic, I'm going to try to come up with something to talk about every day, all right, for a while. I'm enthused with my new camera setup, and I have all sorts of lovely locations to use also. Now today I've got the trees in the background, and actually the sun is setting over my right shoulder there. If I turn the camera, you can see. Okay, I don't want it to distract you from the important topic, so I'll leave it off camera for right now. Okay, today's topic, AI, artificial intelligence. All right, it has gotten a lot of news, a lot of play. Some people think that it is going to revolutionize the world, that others say it's going to cause our own extinction. And it has pluses, minuses, and so is AI a positive or a negative, and do we really need it, is the question of the day. Well, first of all, we have to look at the practicalities of the situation. Artificial intelligence takes a lot of computer power. And a lot of computer power means a lot of energy, and energy is something that is in short supply in our civilization these days. And it is the number one commodity that we need to keep our standard of living, our way of living, moving along. So the idea right now that we can add such a huge drain on our electric power grid is, it has a lot of hubris, okay? And it's something that we should really be thinking about as to whether it's really the right time to be doing that. The estimates are that AI will use upwards of 10% of the electric power consumed in the United States just in the first 10 years or so of being implemented. I think it's already 3 or 4% or something like that. And the goal between AI and electrification of the transportation fleet and also heating, home heating. They want to get us off of natural gas and oil for heating in order to essentially get rid of all carbon sources, all sources of CO2 in the atmosphere. And to do that, we're supposed to do it by going to electricity. But that electricity, of course, has to be generated by non-carbon emitting sources, which means generally renewables, solar power, hydropower from waterfalls and so forth, dams, and wind power from wind turbines is another one. And then there are other ones that haven't been developed very much yet, but you hear them talked about all the time. Geothermal power as a possibility. That would be digging down into the earth and using the heat that is emitted by the liquid mantle that's below the thin skin of the crust of the earth, but you still have to go down a pretty substantial distance in order to be accessing that. And the drilling and so forth is quite expensive, and technically it's fairly difficult to do, to access in most locations. There are a few places where it comes up, Yellowstone, for instance. You have Old Faithful, everybody knows about that. The geysers there. Other places that have hot springs. Iceland uses geothermal power right now. As we know, Iceland is just loaded with volcanoes. So places like that can access it a little bit easier. But it's still fairly risky and expensive to develop that kind of power. And then also tidal power and wave power from the oceans is another one that's talked about, using the height that the water goes to in certain bays. Some places the tidal change can be 20 feet from high tide to low tide. And if you could essentially dam up the place that the water is going in and out, then you can get power going both ways when tide comes in and when tide goes out. So that would be a source of a huge amount of power. So there's all these wonderful sources. And then, of course, one that we have been using for a long time, it is not necessarily really a renewable resource, but it is one that in theory should last a long time, which is nuclear power. And we've been using fission, nuclear fission, for a long time, since the end of World War II, and I'm not sure exactly when the first nuclear reactors went online. I think in the 50s or 60s at the latest. And quite a few of them were built here. France built a lot of nuclear reactors, fission reactors over the years. And they don't produce any carbon emissions, but they do have the problem, first of all, of getting the nuclear fuel, which is uranium usually, and it has to be mined and then refined, because only a specific isotope of uranium is good to use for reactors. And then the reactor type matters as to how enriched the uranium needs to be. So reactors have their problems, and then there's a safety aspect with them. We all, I think, remember places like 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl and those disasters. And there's the movie The China Syndrome, and the whole idea that you can have a nuclear meltdown where the core of the reactor actually melts its way all the way through the earth to China. Now that really wouldn't happen, because once it got down into the mantle, it would all melt and just become part of the big swimming rock down there. So you couldn't really go all the way to China with it, but it still poisons the entire water table and just the whole neighborhood. Okay, and Chernobyl has an area around it that is a no-go zone for people, but wildlife has returned there, and I'm not sure how mutated they are and whatnot, but they do live. So if mammals, and I believe wolves are one of them, if mammals can live there, then it's probable that human beings could too. Now, cancer rates and birth defects and other things would probably be quite high if you lived close to Chernobyl or close to any reactor that suffered a meltdown, but it's not necessarily a complete eradication of life automatically. But there are still more problems besides that. Nuclear power is very expensive. You have the NIMBY problem, no, not in my backyard, where nobody wants a reactor close to them. If you've got a nice house and so forth, lowers your property values. Nobody wants that. So whenever power plants are built, they tend to be built in areas where it's populations that have no political power. And I'm talking about poor people or natives, native reservations, places like that. Those are the people that get all the stuff that nobody really wants in their neighborhood. So all of these are, potential non-carbon sources of energy to power stuff, but the expense and all the rest of it, to develop enough of it to power all of those things that I spoke about earlier, the AI, the cars, the heat, stretches credibility as to whether it's even possible. So of all of those things, which one is the least necessary? Well, it's really hard to give up transportation. We've got to have some means of getting around and some means of moving around our goods, getting food from the farm to your table. If you live in a climate like mine, or even, most climates, you do need heat in the wintertime. And so if you're not going to heat with natural gas or even wood, because that produces carbon dioxide emissions as well, although it can be net zero if you're growing your wood as fast as you're burning it, then you will end up at zero, and you sequester the carbon as you burn it. But in general, that doesn't really happen. We tend to burn the stuff faster than it grows. And we definitely would if many more people used wood for heating. But not that many people do, so it's not really a big problem. But definitely with fossil fuels, natural gas, oil, coal, those things used for heat are a big contributor to the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and thus for global warming. So we can't really, or we don't want to, give up the idea of converting as much as possible to electricity for heat in order to reduce carbon emissions. But AI, what about AI? Do we really need it? All right. What is it good is it going to do for a culture? I can think of bad things already that have come about from AI. The deep fakes, the pictures and audio and video. I think Scarlett Johansson's voice was mimicked by one AI program as the voice of AI, and she was unhappy about that. But it can be used for other even more nefarious purposes. Speeches by politicians could be faked with the AI mimicking the voice of whoever, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Vladimir Putin, et cetera, saying stuff that would, possibly foment civil war, foment riots, foment international disputes, etc. It could be done as a practical joke almost by somebody. Just like you occasionally get practical jokers who decide to hack into the military computers. Remember the old War Games movie, Shall We Play a Game? So the uses of AI on that level could be very dangerous. And then there are more, day-to-day type things. AI has the potential to displace a lot of workers in different types of jobs that require, right now, require human beings. Computer programming, for instance. If the computers can write programs for themselves, well, there'll be fewer people needed to do coding. Now, on the other side, they say that it also can take an individual programmer who writes code and increases productivity. So it can be helpful in that regard as well. So it's not pure negative in that regard. But then there are other areas as well where it could be both helpful and harmful. You've got medicine, where we have a big shortage of doctors, and if AI can substitute and do diagnosis and make your trip through the medical industry more efficient, quicker, so forth, more people can get the medical care they need, well, it's good. But on the other hand, if AI is not perfect and is not well constructed and so forth, what kind of mistakes could it make? They say that to err is human, but to really fuck up takes a computer. And AI has potential, I think, to really fuck up. But the number one thing here that I think it's being contemplated to use for is for data collection and sieving data. And that is something that really behooves and benefits mainly the government for spying on people, and the corporations for tracking people in terms of the things they buy and so forth, and what you do and what interests you, so that they can better sell things to you and essentially take over your life. So I think for the average person that AI holds more possible harm than good. But on the other hand, for the people who run AI, for the people who own the computers, own the corporations, the government who wants to find out more about what you're doing and whether you're, a friend of the government or an enemy of the government, then AI is very beneficial for those people. And if you look at specifically at the billionaire class, who are the main people who are promoting it, and their corporations that they own the majority stocks in and so forth. Like Microsoft is a big owner of OpenAI, I believe it is, and I think Google has their own AI division and so forth, Apple. Those corporations, while they want AI and they know that it's going to consume a lot of power, they do not want to be responsible for developing the necessary power and basically throwing that at the people. So it would end up that you and me would be funding bond issues to build more power plants in order to run the additional electricity to run their computers. So it's a issue of capitalism, which amounts to a privatization of the profits and a socialization of the losses. All of the costs of the electricity are being borne by the individuals. But the profits that come from AI and from the privatization of the computers and the systems, the profits all go to the corporations and their shareholders. All right? So it's not benefiting you and me, it's benefiting Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and those folks. Is that really what we want to do with our tax dollars? No, I don't think so. Um, so one of the main things I think people should be saying to these folks is, yeah, okay, if you want AI, then you build it. You pay for the power plants. All right, very simple. Now, to his in his defense, one of them, Bill Gates, is actually funding the development of a nuclear reactor based on a different technology. It's still fission, but it's a molten salt reactor, a thorium reactor, uh, to power one of his AI ventures. I'm not sure exactly where it is, somewhere in the Southwest, I think. Uh, but in general, they want to leave it to the power companies, and the power companies generally ask for bond issues uh, to be raised for funding. And the thing with the power companies is they're already overloaded and they're already way behind on trying to add power plants that have been built, renewable plants, to the power grid. There's a huge backlog there. Um, I think it's, I'm not sure how many gigawatts, hundreds, thousands of gigawatts, terawatt. I'm not sure, but it's a lot, okay? And they want to, double our capacity to move electricity around the grid inside the next 10 years. That's just an unreasonable amount to do to begin with. And that's before really we've even built all these AI computers and data centers. So I don't understand what do we really need it for right now. I mean, there's already so much data collection and uh, so forth, and computers that are tracking our lives. Why do we need more of it? It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. But sometimes we get this effect of progress for progress' sake, and it's we are sold the idea that we need things that we don't really need. And I think AI is one of those things. I just don't see the real need for it at this point. Uh, I think we need to solve our other more pressing problems, our housing, affordable housing situation, which is really at a crisis level. Now, if you want to throw money at something, let's throw some money at that. Okay, I would like to see a, WPA style program of building affordable housing in every city. Uh, where the homeless people and our migrant population are actually given materials and given a space and say, here, build your own community, build your own homes, okay? Um, Instead of trying to house them in motels and put them in temporary concentration camps. They're talking about that now, building bigger and more expansive camps for the number of migrants that are rolling in every year. Is that something that we really want to do? I mean, it sounds a little bit more like Nazi Germany all the time, uh, taking a segment of the population and and sort of putting them off in these areas that have no real economic system going on. Put I think they put a camp in Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn, okay, down in New York. It's one of their places to house migrants. They've got 2,000 people in army-style tents. And if you know where Floyd Bennett Field is, it's all the way out in South Brooklyn on the water. And the reason it's been like an abandoned airfield for since time immemorial, since I think Charles Lindbergh flew out of Floyd Bennett Field, um, is because it's a really bad place to build things. All right, it's very low lying. It's exposed to the elements, and I don't know how flooded it was when Hurricane Sandy rolled in, but I'm sure it was pretty darn bad because most of Brooklyn was pretty bad. So that area had to be totally underwater. Um, and there's no stores, no nothing around there. Anybody who's there's no schools. So all the families with kids, they have taken on long bus rides to the nearest schools in Brooklyn to go shopping for any food, so forth, which I don't think they do because I think they were being trucked in meals ready to eat, MREs from the military. This type of solution to the migrant housing problem is just ridiculous, and it's not worthwhile. On the other hand, you have cities like St. Louis and even on the East Coast, Hoboken, New Jersey, places where there is an infrastructure already. There are a lot of abandoned buildings of one type or another. Some are residential. There's a lot of commercial real estate now that's empty that could be repurposed. So let's use these places and set the people themselves the task of building and modifying them to suit their needs, suit their living needs. These are better ways to spend money than on something like AI. Let's address the problem that we have, and that's getting bigger every day, as opposed to trying to solve problems that really aren't there yet. All right? So I think I'm just about at the size limit for my videos with this camera. So I'm going to call it a day and talk to you tomorrow. That's all the doom. This time until next time, here on the Doomstead Diner. Hasta la pasta.